Hello and welcome to the first official episode of Color Code, a series where we explore different illustrative coloring styles and see what makes them tick. Now, if you were an early patron, then you probably remember the original Color Code. I'd show examples of pieces of my art in a particular style and write out the process behind making it, and why I thought certain parts worked or not. It was a good idea, but I was never really motivated to make another one. Until today. Anyway, this is episode 0, so I'm not entirely sure if we continue Color Code, it'll stay this way. But for this episode, I decided to play it safe and review my own art again, and specifically, the more popular of the styles, the Phantom Forces style, or just my general comic style. Crimson and Cobalt doesn't follow this style. If you didn't know already, Phantom Forces is a fan comic retelling of Sonic Forces, but with my own personal twist. I won't go into too much detail because I talk about Sonic way too much already. We're just gonna go over the colors. So, to start off, the first thing you might notice when scrolling ever so casually through the pages are the really vibrant high saturation color palettes. And not just this, but also the peculiar gradual shift from one base color to the next as the pages continue. Notice the reds in these pages slowly shifting to blue for the next, or vice versa. This was done for 2 reasons that go hand in hand with each other. 1, for cohesiveness. Like if we're talking to one character in one location for a while and then leading up to a change in scene. And 2, for the mood. I'm pretty sure most of you have heard of mood lighting and gone over atmospheric color theory in middle school, and this might be all one boring jumble, but it is still very important to consider when telling a story. How you use your cool blues and your passionate reds creates a nuance that just typing out dialogue can't truly capture. Or rather, color helps add nuance to tones the writer may not have wanted to be literal about. Okay, for example, say you have your character walking alone in a field when he spots an odd object, let's make it a flower, that reminds him of this lady who he thinks he won't ever see again. Touching scene, but with no dialogue, so it's up to the colors to convey what the character is feeling at the time. One trick I like to use when choosing colors is to think about the tone. In physical painting terms, that means how much gray you're adding or taking out of the chosen hue, leading to it to looking more muted or vibrant. In this case, in the first panel, I usually associate loneliness with emptiness or an absence, so I'd have a more even, quiet background to contrast with the person standing in the center. The flower he sees needs to stick out from the rest of the background, so I'd pick yellow for now and make it less gray, unlike the rest of the background. As the main character looks at the flower and sees it standing out from the rest of the background, their memories start flowing in, and maybe their color could match the color of the flower to associate those 2 things. And so you see the colors slowly fade into a different base color as time moves on. Then when it goes back to the main character, they're back in reality, back in the original color scheme. And maybe it's become even more somber by adding more blue, adding more gray. Because he's become more sad at remembering this person that he can't see anymore. For whatever reason, that's up to the writer. Now, looking at Phantom Forces, its use of tone is mostly used as a contrast. You won't see whole panels washed in sandy, soft yellows, but instead, particular panels will stand back to let other subjects shine, or to push a more solemn motif. For an example, here's a moment in Chapter 3, where robots under the command of Infinite start to overrun people's homes. We see the dark browns and greens in contrast with the bright reds, and then, all of a sudden, everything seems calm. Even though there's red in this scene, it's subdued with a light greenish hue. Color picking that spot, we can see it's actually a rather dim grayish red. A mix of purples, in the stead of gray, into the green and red palette also help add to the softness. In regards to color complexity, most of these backgrounds are fairly minimal in detail, but when a character needs to be alone in a shot, the colors are less crazy, as you can see in these couple of examples. Even though this episode seemed to focus on mainly tone and complexity, I wanted to have Color Code be more of an analysis of how a particular artist did what they did with a sort of breakdown of how to go about doing that. I didn't do that so much here, but I'll try to switch focus to that in the next one. Anywho, I hope you like this version of Color Code. If you have any suggestions of what I should add, do, stop talking about, or an artist to cover, I'll be happy to hear from you. Till next time, see you later!